We're going to try this again. Thank you for being here. I have to take you to the past to bring you to the present in order to learn how to use your tools and why your inner compass is so important. I'm going to bring up a past situation in general terms, and then you will have to do further research, investigation of your own heart, making a stand, because the insidious behavior that we are up against leads people who are seeking harmony to be abuse. And that's not what this is about. I'm going to take you back to a time and place where we were all interconnected and we all met people who have a gift. I'm not going to say that people don't have a gift, because energy and intelligence and working a gift, people do develop. But how people use that gift is entirely up to them. I long forgot about my interaction until a few weeks ago, where the person popped into my head. And I disregarded it. And when a few weeks passed, information was just dropped into my lap as a confirmation, as a gratitude, as a lesson, and I continued on my path. Today, I had a very long and lengthy conversation with Salen Warner. He's an independent journalist who has been investigating people in our community who have these accusations against them. You could go to this page, and it's public domain, because as we discussed the situation, as things were confirmed, as we all were shunned in a community, or we all had to learn our lessons, and we all participated in these infantile interactions as we were growing and learning. When something drops in your lap from spirit, and it is a rewind, it's not only for you to check your own progress, it's for you now who have a voice to raise the issues. So his page is public domain if you want to interact on his page and further get information about the players that are involved here. To me, that's not as important as the people that the players abuse, how people get sucked in, how people hide behind organizations, and they hide behind a truth, and they are liars. And because we all have experienced this, and sometimes we turn the cheek, or sometimes we disengage, but we keep on raising the issues, we also get confirmation from spirit that because we used our inner compass, that we can move forward and we will no longer keep these things quiet. Now, I can only speak from my experience from 2017, and I explained this to the journalist, which we had a face-to-face, because I was like, he's going back as far as he can on my page to see if I'm consistent. I'm checking him out to see, where he's at. We'll do a face-to-face. And I'm glad I did the face-to-face, because he's a very intelligent individual, and his story really is an overlap of what many of us are trying to accomplish while we are standing our ground, living our human life, and we are making a difference. You must be careful who you interact with, because people who are cult-like, people who are still doing the same thing that they were doing in 2017, and people who have gained great access and a lot of money keep a lid on what they are hiding. Now, this goes from pedophilia with partners that they're involved with who are doing jail time, who were confirmed by Mr. Warner, and it's public domain, to people claiming they're going to fix you, to people in the name of what we do, taking people's money, and they are corrupting the value system. So when I look at that, to me, it's not any news because many of us have exposed that years ago and we were shunned. But what's the bigger lesson in this? And how do you avoid this? First of all, I'm going to be very honest with you. The divine does exist. But when people are in a mindset, when they are coming out of trauma, or they are abused, or they are seeking a better way, and they meet people who have intentions any less than authentic, big trouble can happen. And the whole abuse system of what is done spiritually, humanly, and across the globe is due to trauma. Because you have a lot of people that are traumatized that are going either way. So you have the abuser and the abused, and they become codependent, and the cult-like situation explodes. And this goes back to an enslaved mentality. And if you don't think that this is an enslaved mentality and this is bondage, and if you keep turning the cheek about the people that are hurting our people, then there is nothing spiritual about you, because this is a personal journey of mind, body, and soul. And when you are picking up your broken pieces and you are trying to understand consciousness or the next guy or not going by your inner compass, that's a sucker's game. Because people take things way too personally on a public platform. Some connections are just that, you're passing through. That doesn't mean it's personally a target. We've all been in those situations. Also, if people weren't traumatized, they would stop doing the crazy self-sabotage and seeking that they do, and they would be a little humble. And I pondered this. And again, things keep falling in my lap. And why do they keep falling in my lap? Because it would be very easy for me to shun these people. I don't want to use the word shun. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. To be vindictive about this and say, oh, I told you so. Or, oh, it's the same old crap. Because that's human nature. That passes through your mind. You're like, oh, whatever. I'm glad they got it. Or if you're really being honest with yourself and really in your deep, dark thoughts. But you catch yourself and say, no, Spirit didn't throw that in my lap for that. Yes, I know this. Yes, the fortunes they have amassed and what they swindle people out of and how they shut down their podcast and what they do is entirely on them, because karma will come from the most highest. It's not coming from any one of us directly. It's coming from what you put out there. But when you stand for justice and you realize how much the abuse is going on, you can no longer keep your mouth shut. This is the same thing with the incarnations of who people think they are. They're Mary Magdalene, they're incarnated of Jeshua, they're incarnated of everything else but saying that I am exercising the consciousness that these people spoke about in their human form, and I am learning about living intelligence, and I understand that trauma is rampant through our people. But I took a journey to really learn about transformation and change, and yes, things are not always copacetic, but as I change in my heart, what is my inner tool? What is my inner compass? And what could I attest to? And how could I look you in your eyes and say, yes, it's the truth? This is not a smear campaign. This is bringing awareness, because there's many people who get hurt by this. And everything with all is one, all is well, and we are one, and the source of the same consciousness. What does that really mean to you? I hear a lot of people spitting that out. Your consciousness is related to emotion and human nature, yeah. But are you really the source of consciousness that turns humanity against one another and keeps up these hideous forms of a revelation that doesn't exist? Think about that one, guys. Or maybe you use your consciousness and the allness of one to say, I'm an independent thinker and I have an inner compass. So let me tell you about the tool that saves you from the abuses, that helps us to stand up, that helps us guide our people who are in need and to step away from this enslaved consciousness. Because when you do that, you are enslaved. Your consciousness is enslaved to the enslaver, whether they are outright evil or they come in the name of the light. Have this inner compass, and someone pushes you forward and you understand the tool. And yes, it's rocky, and yes, you have trial and error because you work in energy. You rely on that inner compass. So for me, I stood my ground. And even though the situation was not as concrete as it is now, we explained as we were standing our ground and we were bringing this out that this would be the result of people turning the cheek. But people are fickle, and I'm sure that as I speak, you will go right back to the direct source, and I advise you to. Because this is not about picking on anyone personally. This is about bringing up true life situations, standing up for justice, and saying your inner compass is your tool that allows you to walk away from the things that are abusive to your human soul, your spiritual soul, and that this problem is prevalent. And we must stand up for it. Now, what anybody does, they're going to do. Because there will be people that all be for one side or the other. It's like the right or the left. That's just common ground. But what I am speaking about is something that leads you to use the inner compass to walk away from this type of connection that doesn't serve you and look for the people who are standing up and understand about human nature, because there's too much mind confusion and mind manipulation that goes on, and people are lost. So for me personally, like I said, I spoke to Sierra Gordo, and that side of the documentation is public domain. So if you want to know names, places, people, you go there. That, for me, is irrelevant. All these people are conduits to me. They're neither here nor there for me. The situation about abuse, the situation about protecting our people, the situation about us making choices is here in our linear time. And you will not be able to walk away from it. This is one situation, but there's so many situations that you could actually go down the list. So again, I stood up and listened to my inner compass when it wasn't popular. And that meant that I followed a higher source. And the higher source that I followed was leading me to free myself from an enslaved mentality, what I think is an enslaved mentality, right? And live my life according to a higher spirit and uplift my people. And I am among my people because our power now is surging. Our power is to be united. But if we don't clean up and bring attention to the things that are going on as a whole collective, we are no different than the elites. And I have to tell you all who deliberately do this to people, you are no better than the elites because you keep your people in bondage. And you know that there's an inner compass that really exists that we wanted to use it and unite, we can be bitter. We can be better people instead of the bitter people we became. And that's a fact across the board in every culture, in every religion, in every domain. But those that stand out, those that are willing to take the risk, are the ones that are the catalyst that help you to think for yourself, to direct you in the right place of healing, to say, I know it's hard, but I do understand and I can extend to you. Instead, there is backbiting, there is gossip. And I looked at some of the players there, kind of like, they're still doing the same thing. So you learn nothing, because you will learn something as time goes on. You know, sometimes I say to my colleagues or my friends, it's going to be okay. I'm going to get through it. They say, well, why do you get through it right now? Sometimes we feel like we're surviving. It's going to be okay. You are getting through it. And you're still a decent person and you haven't cracked. And right now, many people are surviving their mind. They're surviving financially. They're getting through it. They're trying to understand. So what's wrong with that? If you're going to be okay and you're surviving it, then you understand where opportunity comes in and hope comes in and how you expand and communication and interaction is. So, you know, these days I'm very cool. I absolutely do not care what anybody thinks of me on a public platform, because you're not in my personal life. I do understand this transformation process for those of us who come on here and speak the truth of what happens humanly as you are transforming, as you're healing, as you're figuring it out, as you're going through people. If you're doing the same thing and you're saying it's because of belief systems, or if you're saying it's because I haven't learned the lesson, or you keep interacting with the same thing, you didn't learn the lesson. And sometimes, instead of being around the people who are going to keep you smothered in the cesspool, you need to say, hey sis, hey bro, whatever, collective. That's really how it works, and you know it, because if it did, you wouldn't be in the predicament that you are. And we could tell who's who. We could tell and smell a mile away who's going to give a problem, who's not, who wants to compete, who's this, who's that. Throw it all away. Surrender it up to God. Y'all know that I don't believe in the God that has been illustrated in the narrative. I found different within myself, because no God will kill all its people in the name of God and righteousness, although there are remnants. I do believe in extraterrestrial beings. I don't bow down to any God, because I don't even know the creator of all. And you gods enslaved us. And it's hard for us to accept that. It's hard for us to understand our defects. More and more people are stepping up. I will not go along and turn the cheek. Like I said, this fell on me. Yeah, this fell on me, laugh, however you want to say it. And it did is because I understand my purpose. I am a speaker. I am a catalyst. I live my life clean. That doesn't mean that I haven't been through the BS or the thunder or the hell. I picked myself up. I believed enough to not put it into man, put it into myself, and to walk, and to understand, and to be at peace. And no, I'm not going to keep my mouth shut. I don't care who's living on 1,000,000.3 form. I don't care who's waiting for their pedophilia boyfriend to come out. We've been exposed. And you know what the saddest part is? That this was all out and publicized and spoken about and collaborated in 2018 and prior. Watch who you get involved with. These things are going to go down. You're going to be very surprised that the people you thought you could trust in, you're going to be disappointed. It's going to shock you. And you shunned a lot of people because you thought that these people, because they are very intelligent and they do have the energetic power. They understand energy, they understand the mind, but they also have become insane in their own glory. That's not what that's about. You turn the cheek. At least I'm going to turn the cheek. You know, I post things, and I see a lot of people raising their hand, and I see a lot of people then shying away from it. Maybe you don't have the voice. Maybe you need to find your voice. Maybe you don't know how to get out of it, but You will have to choose that yourself to discuss it open and honestly. How have you healed? Who do you forgive? Why do you do the things you do? Is it legitimate? You know, what I'm saying is a public domain. There are no I'm sorry, I said that wrong. There will be no legal action. I'm bringing up something that's already there and something that I have been challenged for years. I'm not putting anybody on trial because, like I said, the conduits are just that. You'll have to do what you want to do. All this, and 18 till now. Things we talked about and we know. This is public domain. Millions of people view this on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, as I explained to him. That's not my domain. And I also explained to him my goal is very different because my goal is to bring this out. But this just confirms to me that our people have become like the elite and are killing our people. So the choice is here. Because there's a lot of people holding it down by themselves. There's a lot of people being steady. There's a lot of people that are relying on the divine and they need a little extra help. And then what happens? This is out of control. So yeah, I look at it and it saddens my heart, but then I'm thankful because I could have went the other way. I'd say, oh yeah, let's just, everything is all one and all is well. Bullshit. You're not all one if we do that. We might be part of a oneness. A oneness of what though? That caucus and divides? I want no part of it. My goal is for the creator of all. My goal is to be a voice there. And like I said, these things will be exposed. And if you stand up for justice, and a lot more people will. Like I said, some people are in litigation and they have stories too. Some people are not ready to come public yet and they're working on that. But this is one of many situations with different types of people that the majority of you all listened, know, and have worshipped and have been disappointed because you never relied on your honor and compass. You never wanted to know about it. You always wanted to compete. You never wanted to ask questions. You never wanted to learn. I care not what anybody thinks of me because I can't be responsible for that. I care in the dealings that I have and how I am in my personal life and what I do on a public platform. And I don't get too involved because I rely on spirit to drop it in my lap. And the biggest lesson I learned is thank you. The inner compass, the heart space, the transformation is real. You're doing it, but for one doing it, you could either form it into the beautiful lotus that you are, or you can stay in the mud. That choice is up to you. I guarantee you that more of this is going to come out. Stay sure, my people, and start turning the cheek. Rise up. Peace out.